Hello, Rob. How are you?
Hello, Nisam. Thank you for inviting me to have this conversation.
Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to interview you.
Well, it's always a pleasure for me and a privilege actually to share what I learned from Milton Erickson, my time with him.
Wow.
And it feels like such a gift that I was lucky enough to be able to meet him and spend time with him and learn from him, get to know him and get to be known by him. It was a wonderful experience, wonderful.
Excellent. So, friends, we have Dr. Robert MCNeilly here, and let me give you an introduction about him. He was in a suburban Melbourne general medical practice for 10 years. So doctor is not from PhD, it is medical profession. So that's how it's doctor. He had the privilege of learning directly with Milton Erickson. And was inspired by his human approach to therapy and created his own interpretation to assist clients in a respectful, dignified way with the human dilemmas that affect individuals, couples, and families. He founded the CET in 1988 to introduce Ericksonian hypnosis and the solution-oriented approach to hypnosis, counseling, and coaching in Australia. For more than 40 years, the contribution he brings in his teaching style, writing, and unique approaches to learning and therapy allow for a ready application into everyday living and are recognized locally, nationally, and internationally, including repeated invite presentations at the Milton H. Erickson Foundation's International Congresses in USA since 1980 and workshops in Singapore, Denmark, Finland, Brazil, Ireland, England, and the Czech Republic. I think the list of the countries would have increased in this pandemic due to your online trainings, right, Rob?
What was that?
I said due to in this pandemic because you have converted your trainings into online as well. So the list of countries is less. It might have increased more, right?
Maybe.
Yes. Okay. So, friends, Rob, his co-author with Jenny Brown of Healing with Words, Healing the Whole Person. It was published by republished as Doing Change by St. Luke's Innovative Resources, and Crown House have published a series of DVD demonstrations of counseling and hypnosis. Pandava Press have published Creating Connections in Ericksonian Approaches to Hypnosis and Therapy, Volume 1 and 2, Learning Hypnosis and Just Do Good Work.
Yep.
So, that's and students comment on his essay respectful manner and his elegant ability to make complex issues approachable while retaining their essence. And Rob, I was fortunate to attend your one of the online courses. Thank you for that. And I just love the way you teach and make complicated. Generally, hypnosis means like, oh my God, so many rules, so many regulations, lot to memorize and follow. Once you start teaching, it becomes a cakewalk. Amazing teacher you are. So, how did you get in touch with Dr. Milton Erickson, Rob?
Well, like a lot of people involved in therapy, it started with a personal experience.
Yeah.
I was in trouble with problems in my first marriage, and I went to see a psychiatrist in Melbourne, Ainsley Mears, to see if he could help me. And I got a lot of help from this man, and I think the result of that was I think I can deal with this. So I felt more able to deal with my problem, what was troubling me at the time. And then I thought, when I was in medical practice, it was so helpful to me, I better find out about this so that I can be helpful to my patients. And that led me to enroll in a 2-year program to learn about hypnosis. And it was a very conservative, very traditional approach to hypnosis. And over 2 years, I learned that hypnosis was complicated and dangerous. And I think that's not really a very helpful conclusion. But the best thing about that was I happened to see a film of Milton Erickson working with 2 people. And it was love at first sight.
Wow.
I fell in love with that man when I saw these. He was behaving, he was interacting with these people like a human being, not like some kind of all-knowing, all-wise expert, giving a few crumbs to some underling defective person. And I was totally charmed by the way he was. And so I thought, well, I want to learn from this man. So a sensible person would have written him a letter, but I've never been sensible. So I rang him up and I thought that I would get have a conversation with a secretary or something. And he picked up the phone.
Wow.
And I said, I would like to learn from you. And he said, come on over. So that's what I did. That was in 1987. So I went to America and spent 2 weeks with him and went back the following year for another 2 weeks. And then in 1980, I was there for 1 week, just 10 days before he died.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so he was a remarkable man. Even in that last day that I saw him, you know, he was really a wreck. He was in serious pain. He was in a wheelchair. He was drooling, but he was enjoying himself and he was learning and he was generous. It was
Even
really
in that
quite
situation. Even in that situation.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So the thing that impressed me with what Erickson was doing and what he was teaching was that he put all of the emphasis of his work and his approach on the client and their abilities that they didn't realize. He said, everyone's got more abilities than they know. And you can't deny that. So that was a starting point. Another essential part of his approach was that people are individuals. And to think that there could be one theory, one approach that was going to help all people of both genders, of all nationalities, in all situations, in all circumstances is ridiculous. And so he had a way of listening to each individual to find out who they were, how they, what made them tick, how they thought, what was going on for them. He listened to that with a very, very astute listening. And then he actually articulated this, that the important thing that he thought was to accept whatever the client brings and then to make use of it. He was not interested in finding the cause and treating. He was interested in helping people to connect, reconnect, or learn what was going to be useful for them. For example, he told me that a woman rang him saying that she'd been washing her hands obsessively for 20 years. And he said he was very interested to find out from her what she used to do with her hands 21 years ago. Not interested in what happened that caused it, but reconnecting her with something that she'd done all of her life until the last 20 years, to reconnect her with that. One of the most dramatic situations when he was a psychiatrist in a mental psychiatric hospital, there was a man who was diagnosed as being psychotic, and he said he was Jesus Christ. and was walking around the hospital with a towel around him, with a sheet around him, trying to convert everybody to Christianity. And anyone who tried to talk him out of that or fix that was actually interfering with him doing his father's work. Erickson wasn't interested in treating him, but just to be useful. So he approached this man and he said, I believe you've had some experience in carpentry.
Okay.
And of course, what could he say? So then Erickson took him down to the woodworking part of the hospital, and he started to make furniture, tables, chairs, and that was the beginning of him reconnecting with a consensual reality.
Okay.
Isn't that beautiful?
Yes.
Just so elegant. And so there was another situation where there were two people in the hospital who said that they were Jesus.
Okay.
So he sat them down in a park bench outside, and he said, I want you to explain to the other person that you are the real Jesus and he's an imposter.
Okay.
And he said to the other one, I want you to explain to this person why you're the real Jesus and he's the imposter. He left them to it. He came back an hour later, and this one said, I know he's the imposter, but he's saying the same things that I am. So that was at the beginning again, not an understanding, not a treatment, but just an experience where they could learn what was going to be helpful to them.
Awesome.
Isn't that great?
Yes.
So many stories like that of the wonderful way that he worked. Now, I'm not clever like he was. You know, you talked about simplicity before. You know, I'm old and cranky. And so if I try and learn something too complicated, I don't, it's too much for me. So I like to find something that's simple and easy,
Okay.
and start from that. That's my preference.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Awesome. And Rob, generally you said initially when you have explored hypnosis before meeting Dr. Erickson, you said
Yeah.
hypnosis, as much as it can be useful, it can be dangerous as well.
Yeah. That was what I learned.
So could you please elaborate a bit about that?
Well, it was based on a very rigid set of beliefs. It was based on a medical model.
Mhm.
Now, the medical model, I was in general practice as a doctor for 10 years, and it's very useful for treating pneumonia, influenza, a broken leg, appendicitis. It's very useful for some things. But when it comes to working with human beings and their emotional and relational problems, it doesn't work.
Okay.
People are not mechanistic. They're not like a car or a computer. They're organic creatures. So we are growing and evolving all the time. We're not like a machine or a typewriter or a computer that's already pre-programmed.
Wow.
So I was also been inspired and informed by a Canadian family therapist, Carl Tom, who said that there is no such thing as a difficult client. The clients that we say are difficult are just doing what they're doing. And we say they're difficult because they're not doing what we think they should be doing. So I've taken that notion and made my own translation of it. And I like to say that there's no such thing as a resistant client, just resistant therapists. So if we're doing something and the client doesn't benefit from what we're doing, then it's our job to do something different. Not to make them different, but for us to be flexible. He said that in such a useful way, he said, we can always be totally confident that every person has the resources they need to solve their problem. So we can be confident in the client's ability. We can
Not in
always
our ability.
Hmm?
Not in our ability, we can be confident
Yeah.
in client's ability.
We can always be totally confident that every client has the ability to go into hypnosis.
Wow.
So then it takes us off the pedestal of being the wise, intelligent expert, and it gets the focus on the client and their expertise and their experience. Such a different focus,
Yes,
yeah?
yes, yes.
Mm. And I learned that the way to get someone into hypnosis is to induce hypnosis. So hypnosis became popular about 100 years ago, about the same time that general anesthetics became popular. And so hypnosis took on some of the jargon from anesthesia. And anesthetics, you put someone out, you put them under, they go to sleep, you know, they're passive. But Erickson didn't do that. He talked about, and this is such a useful idea, talked about the common everyday trance, where any person can get focused and absorbed in reading a book, watching a movie, talking to someone on Zoom. You can become focused and absorbed in that. Everybody has that ability. So if we think of hypnosis as an extension of that, then it doesn't make sense to find out, is someone hypnotizable or not?
Okay.
It's just a matter of finding out how someone has, in their own way, has an ability to get focused and absorbed. And once we find that, well, we can just invite someone into that. And of course, then it becomes easy because it's a function of something that they already know about.
Yes. Love your approach. Such a simple process, right? So
Yeah.
it makes easy.
And he wrote so beautifully that in his experience, people come to therapy not because of the unchangeable past, but because of some discontent in the present and a desire to better their future. So he shifted the focus from pathology to learning, from looking at the past to find a cause, to looking to the future to where they want to go.
Amazing.
My Irish ancestors, Nizam, say, if you don't know where you're going, you might end up in a different place. So I think if we know what this client wants, we know that, then we know what we're looking for. When Erickson said to me, when a client comes to see you, they always bring their solution with them.
Wow, that is amazing.
But they don't know that they bring their solution with them.
Mm-hmm.
So have a very nice time talking with your client to help them to find the solution that they brought that they didn't know that they brought. Now, when I heard that, I thought, isn't that beautiful? What a wonderful approach. But then I was left with the dilemma, okay, they brought something, and how do we help them to find that? And a light bulb moment for me was when I realized that when people do something that they like to do, they have all the resources that they need right at their fingertips. Otherwise, they wouldn't like it. My eldest son likes to ride his bicycle and he gets up early and he goes for a ride with his mates nearly every day of the year. He likes that. Now, if the chain comes off the bike, if he falls off the bike, if it starts to rain, if he gets hungry, he handles that.
Yes.
And if he couldn't handle that, he wouldn't like it and he wouldn't do it. So it can be such a beautiful way to start a therapy session, to ask someone, what do you like to do? And for example, Nissan, if I asked you, what do you like to do?
Okay. I like to meditate.
Okay. So if you like to meditate, what is it about meditation that you like?
It makes me calm, and it makes me peaceful, and
Good.
it helps me to find my own solutions whenever I want.
Beautiful. So now if you were interested to go into hypnosis, all I need to do is to ask you, would it be okay if you were to start to meditate now and allow my voice to be part of your meditation? And whatever problem that we're just playing here, Nisam, but if you brought a problem to me, then all we need to do is for you to remember the experience of meditating, to allow yourself to get into that meditation, start to focus on how it feels and start to get absorbed in it. And then you can be interested to find out in the meditation what answers you get, what solutions that you get. So it's a way of helping someone to connect with what's already there. We don't have to introduce anything new.
Beautiful. Rob.
Yeah, yeah. So if you find meditation helpful, if someone likes to cook, or if someone likes to dance, then all we need to do is to ask them, would it be okay if you meditated, or got into the kitchen and started to cook, or got into the garden and started the garden? And there we've got everything, we've got right at our fingertips, any resource, any experience that might be missing. So then the second part of helping them connect is to find out what problems they have. People come to see us, they bring a problem. There's something difficult so if we know what the problem is, if they tell us, we ask them, and we can ask them, so what's missing for you? And if we ask someone what's missing for them, or what they want, or what would be useful, or what would be different when they've solved this, we know what's missing, we know what we want to look for. And then in hypnosis, we know where to look. So if we know what we're looking for, and we know that if we get into the experience of someone doing what they like, we can find the resource there. That's a beautiful combination. And it's easy, and it's respectful. And it comes from within the client, not something that we are suggesting. It's not something that we're influencing. We're just helping someone to discover something that's right under their nose. Sometimes if I go to the supermarket looking for something, I can't find it. I was in the supermarket the other day and I was looking and looking and looking for these noodles and I couldn't see it, couldn't find them. So I asked one of the people who work there if I could borrow their eyes. Would they mind helping me to find where the noodles are? And they said, oh, there it is. It was there all the time, but I hadn't seen it. So I think that's the beauty of what Erickson invited us to do. It's helping to see what's there that we're overlooking, instead of having to introduce something new.
Yeah, such a beautiful thing. Awesome. I love it. So, Rob, on this context, doesn't reading out hypnosis scripts for the clients contradicts with the classical hypnosis way of reading out a script to the client, and your style of connecting to a person to their what they like to do? Both are different, aren't they contradicting that?
Yes, instead of reading some kind of general script, we're exploring what script the client already is having, and we can work with that.
Yeah. So we don't need external script which is ready-made. We are using the script that already the client has. Okay.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Yes. And please, you are about to say something.
He said that Erickson said the three most important things for us to do if we're going to do good work, the three most important things for us to do are to observe, and to observe. And he was a great observer. And if we just follow that invitation, if we observe something, then we have a chance to respond to it in the moment. It's obvious. If we try and understand something or explain it, whoa, that's going to take a long time and get very complicated. But if we can observe something, and that's what we do when you're typing on your computer, you're somehow observing. And if a red line appears underneath a word, well, you respond to that and you go and check the spelling. When you're driving your car, if there's a red light in front of you, you automatically start to put your foot on the brakes. You don't think, now, am I going to put my foot on the brake now, or will I wait for a bit? And how hard am I going to push on the brake? And if I'm going to push too hard, I've got to be careful about it. No, you just observe the red light and you respond to that. And if you find that you've put your foot on the brake too hard, you just lift it off. You don't need to explain it. You observe and you respond, and then you observe and you respond, and so on. So it's just an organic, natural relationship.
Beautiful. Yeah. And Rob, for anyone who wants to learn this process, so what kind of different trainings do you offer in general?
Well, there is on my website, there is a free program that has some demonstrations and some writing and some exploration of this. And I've written a number of books that there's a couple of free ebooks on my website that people could explore. But I also run paid programs lasting for a few months or 4 months or 6 months. And there are 3 of those, the certificate, and a diploma and an advanced diploma for people who want to explore in greater detail. But all of those things can be useful, but primarily, someone listening to what we're talking about here, if they were to follow the possibility of asking someone what they like about that, and what's the problem that they want to do something about, and what's missing, and then invite this person to become focused and absorbed in remembering or imagining that they're doing something that they like, to get into that, and then look in that experience for what's missing in their problem. That's not complicated. It's really quite simple. And the beautiful thing about it is that it is evoking from someone, from a client, something that comes from them. So it doesn't need translation. It's native to them. It's like they're speaking their own language. We don't need a translator.
Amazing.
So I think that would be a way for anyone to start to. Now, there is a lot of people talked about Erickson. A lot of people learned from him, and people have written a lot of books about his approach. And I've noticed that any book or any talk about Erickson says more about the author than Erickson. And my favorite joke is that the question is, how many Ericksonian therapists does it take to change a light globe? And the answer is it takes 19. 1 to change the light globe, and 18 to say how they think Erickson would have done it differently. So, you know, he just did what he did. And people have said he's very complicated and he was an amazing, clever, intelligent person. I don't think so. I think he was a very simple man. He came from a farming background. And if he hadn't got polio when he was 17, 18, he would have been a farmer. But he had a pragmatic approach to something. He didn't make it complicated. Farmers know how to respond to the weather and to the different situations. They look at the wheat and they say, oh, it's a bit too early for cutting it yet. Oh, I think it's ready, so they do it. They look and they know empirically, they know through experience what to do. It's not complicated.
Yes. So the things that are simple seems like complicated.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe we are sometimes we want to complicate the simple things and get even more confused.
If any you want us to create a problem, it's very easy. You just take something simple and then you make it complicated. I've had people come to see me because they need to watch their breathing because they're scared they're not going to get enough oxygen.
Okay.
Now, breathing is simple. When you breathe, you know, it just happens. So if you want to cause a problem, that you start to what if I don't get enough oxygen? What if I don't do this? What if I don't? Well, maybe we can make it it's called a problem. But breathing, nothing complicated about that. It's a simple process.
So talking to you on this topic of breath, Rob, you remind me of one of my spiritual teachers. So like generally, we used to have this notion that meditation means we need to have mental discipline, sit for hours, years, and do this. He taught us just sit silently, observe your breath. Okay, what do we do? Advanced level of meditation, sit and observe your breath. What does a beginner do? Sit and observe your breath. Oh my God, like, is it that simple? Yes.
Do you know, people, we've worked with people who've got an aeroplane phobia. They're frightened of flying. But actually, in order to fly in a plane, all that's required is for you to be able to walk and sit. If you can walk and sit, that's all you need to do.
Okay.
But we can have a problem if we complicate it. Or what if the wing falls off? Or what if what if this happened? Oh, we can complicate it, and we've got a problem there. But actually, it's just a matter of sitting and walking and sitting.
Amazing. So yes, Rob. So this is the reason, Rob, because I wanted an exclusive interview where someone who has directly worked with, learned from Dr. Erickson, then I could at least record this and capture this on YouTube channel so that people get to know the taste and what exactly is, instead of hearing stories from different perspectives, a direct approach and the real stories, like what exactly this, how simple it is, how beautiful it is, how effective it is, and how different it is. Thank you very much, Rob, for that.
No, that's a pleasure, Nisam. It's a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for inviting me. As you can tell, it's a pleasure for me to speak about this and share it with anyone who's interested.
Yes, and friends, whoever is interested in exploring this beautiful process, in the YouTube description, I am going to make the website available of the Dr. Rob, so you can explore various resources till basic to advanced level of trainings and take your skills next set, and that too in a simple way.
That's beautiful.
Yes,
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.